What is up, friends? Rob here, the Medicare minister, and I'm back with a brand new Spitting Fire Leadership podcast. And I'm here today with special guest, Mr. Brian Askins. Mr. Brian, will you say hey to everyone real quickly?
Hello. Hey, it's great to be here. And thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I know Brian's going to spit some serious fire today. He's going to bring it. And listen, as always, I want to remind you why we do this, because I believe that all of you deserve to win. And I pray that these stories, I pray that these leadership and success principles that we share in these episodes will put fresh wind in your sails and push you and inspire you and motivate you to not give up, because I need you to see that you deserve to win for yourself. And so, Mr. Brian, I'm so glad that you're with me today. I know we have a lot to talk about, but what I always like to do when I start these things off is just to hear a little bit about your story. I know I've heard it at 8% and I've heard it in some other platforms, but will you just take a few minutes and kind of give us just that Sports Center highlight version of your story?
Absolutely. So from a work standpoint, I got in the business back in April of 1990. But prior to that, I was actually selling furniture, and I was selling furniture door to door out of a box. And it was index cards with the pictures of the photos of the products I was selling, whether it be a living room suite, a bedroom suite, appliance, whatever it may have been, and just go basically knock on the door and ask them, are they interested in any new furniture, appliance, et cetera. And if they were, they'd let me in and I'd kind of show them pictures out of a box. And so the door to door there. And so then got into the insurance business. My first thing in the insurance business was with Reliable Life when I was I ran a debit route for 7 years. And that's where you're going. A lot of people listen to the podcast, they're going to be saying, what is a debit route?
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right.
And because that's just kind of an old school thing. But from 1990 to 97, that's what I did. And so we're running a debit route. You just go door to door collecting the premiums. Some of the premiums are $5, some of them are $25, and I sold exclusively final expense and fire and dwelling. And fire and dwelling is homeowners insurance without the liability portion of the coverage. And so did that for 7 years. And then after that, I went to I worked with Mutual of Omaha. I was an agent for a short period of time, and then I became a district sales manager for a couple of years, almost 3 years. And then in August of 2000, I became a general manager, and I stayed as a general manager until February of 14, which is when I started Security Insurance Group and as an independent agency, and that's what I do today.
Awesome. And how long have you been doing the independent agency again?
Since February of 2014.
Okay. Got agents all across the country?
About 7.5 years.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
You have agents all across the country? Yeah.
Yeah, we have agents in 40-something states right now. Wow. We're licensed in 49 states, but we have agents in 40-something states.
Gotcha. And I only ask this because when people watch this, I interview people from different industries, right? Because I have found this common thread that no matter what type of leader you are, or whatever arena you're in, that all leaders have this same common thread. And so we have some people in the home-based business space, primarily in the insurance space, because that's who I interview, because I'm in the insurance space. But I only ask this, like, what kind of production is your agents and you're doing, just so people can kind of see where you came from this debit route to where you're at now? Do you mind just sharing a few of those numbers?
I don't mind at all. We started out, when I started Secure, it was me and 4 other individuals. Mm-hmm. And my wife had been a homemaker taking care of our children for 20 some odd years. And so whenever I did this, she came out of the home and became our secretary, staff person, a right-hand person for everything that we do. And so it was me and 4 other individuals. And by the end of this year, we will exceed, we already have over 20-something W-2 employees. Those are support staff. We went from basically 1 to 20-something, about 22 in the 7-year period. And then we went from 4 agents up to this, by the end of this year, we'll exceed 1,000 by the end of this year.
Wow.
So it's been a pretty good run. So it's been a lot of fun. And so.
Yeah, well, like I said, I have a lot I want to ask you because I have been struck by some of the talks that I've seen you give. But let me just stop here for a minute. What would you say has been your number one key to success, or maybe one of your top keys to success to get you from that beginning to, where you're at now?
To me, it's all about culture. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you can ask any person on our staff, so anytime I hire, we do any recruiting as far as for an employee, I spend the first probably 20, 25 minutes talking about nothing but culture. And so I'm sure the person on the other side of the table is like, gosh, what is this guy ever going to quit talking about something else other than culture? But I really want to ingrain that. So we do spend the first 20, 25 minutes at least talking about culture. And so that way they know what, because as we've all heard, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And so we want to protect our culture more than anything. So the employee side, with the 22 employees we have, that's the most important thing, is the culture portion of it. And then that bleeds over into the agent side also. And we have LOA agents, we have independent agents, and it bleeds over into them. And it bleeds over, just because of the culture and the way our support staff works and so forth, that allows, a lot of our agents to get so many more referrals, because when they deal with our staff, they're treated with just utmost respect and just a culture portion of it. But so culture is absolutely the most important thing to me.
Okay, so let's stay there for a minute, because that's one direction I wanted to go today, is define to me what culture means to you. Right? Because I know it can be a subjective term, and I hear people all the time, we got a great culture, but then you actually go behind the scenes and it's really not that great. But define to me what it means to you.
Culture means to me to where, I'll give you a couple of different examples. So one of the things about employees, and I think that this is one mistake people make a lot, is people love to micromanage. Leaders, people who are in management positions, when they don't really know what to do, that's when they start micromanaging. And that's just my opinion. But when people know how to lead, leaders don't micromanage. But when a person is in a leadership position, which we'll call a manager, some type of leadership role, when they don't really know what to do, they fall back on micromanagement. And so what I do is with our employees is I want to give them the tools and resources and the expectations in order to achieve their jobs in a very, very good way, and then step back and let them take it, let them do it. Because so many times, people are always over everybody's shoulders and they want a report every day. And I'm not against reports. I'm not against any of those, but I do like the idea, and it's just worked well for us, of giving people the freedom to do their jobs, give them the tools and resources to do their jobs, and then step back and let them do it. You're going to have people excel at levels that you never dreamed they would excel when they feel like that they have ownership in what they do. And ownership is huge. So once you get an employee to where they feel that they have ownership in their position, then all of a sudden they excel, and they excel in a big time way.
So my next question would be, why do you think so many leaders micromanage? Is it an insecurity thing? Is it just they don't know any other way? Is it just a combination of a lot of things that you've seen from your experience?
I really think, and this is just my opinion, I really believe they micromanage because they don't know how to lead. They don't know how to lead from the front. So, the idea of leading is micromanagement, and it's becoming this dominant factor, just becoming this intimidator, and to where they manage by fear and they lead by fear, and nobody wants that. Nobody wants that at all. And you start micromanaging, you start becoming and I could tell you from my days at Mutual, we had a leadership team there at first that was tremendously great. And then the company was just flourishing. And then all of a sudden, they brought in a new team, and the micromanagement went to a whole new level to where, you had to send a report in every day. You had to have a conference call with your upline or your leader, every Friday. And I mean, it was just beyond belief. So all of a sudden things started to crumble because they took away the ownership from the people who were doing the job. And one other thing too is like, for example, me and in our agency here, we've got an individual that does the finances. I give her full ownership of that finance, because I don't, I could probably do the finances, but I'd have to learn a lot to do that, because that's not my expertise. That's not what I do. Our contracted team, I give them full control because, again, that's what they do. And so people love that ownership. They love that, because our best ideas have came from our employees. You want them to feel freedom to give their ideas. You want them to feel freedom to give their ways to improve a process or procedure that we're currently doing. You want them to give their ideas. You don't want them to be so fearful to where they don't give any, they're afraid to give ideas. So.
No, I think that's a great point. I'm taking notes while you're talking. I just think, listen, if you're watching this today, you need to rewatch this like 10 times, because Brian is dropping some serious gold today. And so I want to just keep staying there for a minute. This is one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about, because I feel like you really, really get it. I know myself, and about the ideas thing, I know myself when I have been in sales, because I've been in sales most of my life, in corporate sales, where you've been micromanaged, you went from business to business, had to log it in and put your notes. And I'm not saying that was a bad thing, but it just became so obsessive, and it felt like you were just getting the whip cracked on you all the time. But I do feel, because my personality does not thrive in a micromanaging culture. I don't think a lot of people do, but I love what you said, because it has kept me from wanting to share ideas. Right. And I really like that point that you brought out. And I love what you said, that some of our best ideas have come from our employees. Why does micromanaging stifle that so much? Is it just because people are fearful? Is it because people are angry? Is it because people just don't want to contribute to a culture that's not empowering them?
I think that when you become a dictator, an individual that is a micromanager, you turn your employees into robots, and they're no longer really human beings anymore.
Right.
They're just following, and the process you have may be tremendous, but as like, for example, if you're raising children, I had 4 children, and we had to employees the same way. You got to treat certain employees different ways, because certain things trigger them, certain things will turn them off, and so I just think that it's so important to allow them to be the individuals that they are. It's so important to let them know that their opinion is vitally important to this organization. Let them know that the role, the responsibility that they have is critically vital to the success of this organization. And here's the way we do it. But if you find ways to improve it, let's discuss those ways, because I'm telling you. So there's some people out there that are tremendously talented. They just have never been given the opportunity to show it. Yeah. And when they're given the opportunity to show it, they shine. And when they shine, your organization, all of a sudden, it takes a turn. And, because like, I'll give you a quick example. Our contracting lady that, when we started 7 years ago, I hired a lady by the name of Avela. And so she comes in, and I'm like, Avela, you're over contracting. She says, okay, what do we do? And I'm like, I'm really not sure, but here's what I do know. And here's some people to contact. And here you just tell me what tools, resources you need. And so she went out and she got all the tools, resources. She basically built the contractor program from top to bottom. And she knew nothing about contracting prior to, but now she's an absolute rock star, an absolute rock star in that arena. And but because we've given her complete freedom to develop that program and continue to make enhancements, improvements on her, and now she's got team members, et cetera. So tremendous. you will have just a tremendous culture if you allow people to take ownership in their positions, give them the tools, the resources in order to be successful in their job, and give them the freedom to do it. You'll see a change.
No, I totally agree. And, I've seen this work for me in the faith-based space. I was a church planter and pastor and been in ministry for a long time. And I call it my 10. There were certain things I was not a 10 in. And so I wanted people to take over that because that was their 10. And I did my best to empower them in that space, even as running this office daily here in Tupelo. I don't want to do all the stuff that I'm not good at. But one of the things that really changed for me, and I want to see if this resonates for you, is I went to a church planting conference years ago. And he's a famous pastor leader. He does a lot of strategies for church planters. And he said that to truly grow, you have to be willing to delegate. But he said, you have to delegate with this mentality that even though this is your baby, this is you're going to do it better than anyone else, but you will grow when you delegate with this mindset that they're probably never going to do it as good as you, but that is okay, right? That is okay because your organization will grow when you're not trying to do everything, manage everything, put your thumb down on everyone. And it sounds like you've seen that in your organization. In some cases, they may do it better than you, but he was meaning more from a standpoint that you may have the most passion about it. You may wake up earlier than anyone, stay up later than anyone, but if you really want to grow, you got to be willing to let it go and give them a shot to do it the best to their ability.
I totally agree. If we try to do everything ourselves, we're playing by addition. Mm-hmm. But once we trust others, all of a sudden we play by multiplication. And so that's when we trust others, we have a chance to grow in ways and at amounts that we never dreamed possible. Once we trust others and give the other, and what I mean by trust them, is give them the tools and resources and the freedom to do their job and do it completely do it without micromanagement. So now we monitor and measure stuff still,
Sure.
Don't get me wrong.
You have to. Yeah.
People, absolutely. We absolutely do that. But my goal is to never micromanage because I don't like being micromanaged. It turns me off, and I know it turns other people off also.
Sure. And I think micromanaging actually stifles them, right? Like nobody wants to be controlled. And I know there's healthy levels of that, like with certain things that you have to monitor. But when you don't micromanage and it's like you empower people. Like I feel empowered. I go, wow, this person has trusted me to run this, and I want to give my best ideas. I want to give it 150%, where when I have felt controlled in the past, it's frustrating. It's like an extra burden that you have to carry throughout the day. And it makes it harder for me to really perform in that type of culture.
Yeah. My daughter-in-law, Lauren, is having a ladies retreat today. They started last night and they go till Saturday morning. And so they're having a session this morning and then this afternoon. And her topic of the session is culture. Mm. And which makes me just immensely proud. And I know that, she already had that before me, but it's tremendous that it aligns with everything that, that I believe and that I really focus on.
Yeah. And time out real quickly for everybody watching this when this drops is if you haven't figured out by now, this is Cody Askins' dad, Brian Askins. And so I figured most people watching this would know that, but just wanted to do a quick time out there. Now back to regular scheduled programming here. So let me talk about ownership because I want to stay here just a little bit longer. What when you say you give them ownership, define that for us real quickly.
So ownership just simply means that they're responsible. They know what their goals are. They know what the responsibilities are, and we help them. They set goals, and them to get from point A to point B is their responsibility. They know that if they ever have a tool resource that they need, just come and ask us. We're going to, almost regardless of what it is, we're going to do it. If it's something that that we can agree upon, in which most of the time, even though that. And most of the time we're going to, because we're on the same page, more than 90% of the time, we're just on the same page in our office with all of our employees. And so it's basically just giving them the tools and resources, and setting, not sitting back, but watching them just excel, and then congratulating when they excel. Doing something special for them when they excel, so like, like our employees, we had a great year. And so last year, we gave every employee $1,000, wow. just as a little bonus, nothing, not even Christmas, not even, anything else. Just, we got them all together. It was kind of during COVID. And because a lot of our, our employees, we never missed a day at work because we were considered essential, and they showed up. And so I just felt like, hey, I need to reward them in some way, show them, we care about them, we appreciate them, we recognize what they, what they do, and they could have easily, stayed home like, a lot of Americans did. Yeah. And, we followed all the guidelines, et cetera. But I just felt that, I wanted to show my appreciation. So.
Yeah. No, and I like to say it this way, because culture is a big thing to me as well. In our industry, we tend to think because people are writing a lot of apps that they have a healthy culture. But I tell people, you can write a lot of apps and not have a healthy culture, right? But if you start with a healthy culture, you'll eventually write a lot of apps, because healthy things grow in good soil. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. So I love how you worded that, because it's absolutely just perfectly true. In my opinion, is if you have a great, I never worry about money. Mm-hmm. I'm not driven by money. Money is not my focus. And some people think, well, you're crazy. It's just never has been.
Yeah.
I don't have to, I worry about the culture first. Mm. And if I take care of the culture, the money follows. I don't have to worry about the money whatsoever. Now, I've seen organizations that had and there was one down in Texas, that I won't name the place, but they had more of a dictatorship, and they produced at a big number, at a great level. But all of a sudden that began to crumble and crumble and crumble. And the reason is because it didn't have the culture, or you got to have a foundation. Every house has the first thing they lay is a foundation.
Yep.
And so, and that culture to me is that foundation on that house. Mm-hmm. You've got to have that foundation, because, you may build the house, you may live in it for a while, but eventually that storm's going to come and it's going to blow that house down if you don't have a good structure and a good foundation. So
no, and that's a great point. And I always tell people this when I'm talking on this topic or mentoring, people, is, the Bible says it very clearly that a kingdom divided against itself will not stand, right? You can have all the success and appear one way, but if that culture is not good, it's eventually going to crumble, as you said. So that's a really, really good point. Let me ask this. If somebody's watching this today, maybe a young leader who's maybe struggling with the micromanaging, or maybe struggling to cultivate that healthy culture, we both know this, you're going to ultimately reproduce what you are and who you are, right? But what are some tips? Like, what if somebody said, well, how do I change that in my office? Are there some tips that you could give that maybe would help someone out there who's watching this?
Yeah, I think a couple of things is we need to know what our employees are thinking. And so, and we have, and I'm not even a part of these. So I've got, we have weekly meetings with the team leaders, the person over finances, the person over recruiting, the person over contracting, the person over, product development, the person over, and so just different department leaders, team leaders. And so they go in a meeting every, I think it's Friday mornings. I'm not even a part of it because I didn't want to be a part of it, because I want them to be able to share things among themselves that I'm not even, hearing, I'm not, and if something they need to bring to me, they bring to me. But they have a freedom to talk it. And so every week they get in there and they just basically talk about how their department can be better, and what tools or resources or whatever they need to make their department better. But I think the biggest thing is, if you've got a culture to where you're, micromanagement now, is to go to a person one-on-one, sit down with them and just say, look, hey, and I think the first thing to do anything is to admit fault. Mm-hmm. It's so hard for a lot of people to admit fault.
Sure.
And I'm okay with admitting fault because I've made a lot of mistakes,
Sure.
and if there's a mistake to be made out there, I probably made it. But I just try not to repeat that mistake,
Sure.
too many times so I think it's go in there, admit fault, and just say, hey, going forward, here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to, you tell me what tools, resources you need. You tell me what, whatever you need in order to excel at your job. Here's where we're at today. Let me ask you this: where would you like to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now? And those type conversations, and just say, you just tell me what you need, and if you ever need my support, and then just kind of touch in with them every time. All of a sudden, they have ownership. So ownership has been passed from you to them, and people will thrive when they feel like they have ownership in something, and people will thrive when they feel like how important they are, and how it just turns it around quickly. But it can be done. I think the first thing is admitting that maybe you haven't done it the best in the past, but we need to make a few changes going forward.
Yeah, and I really like that, because even myself, and when I know that I've blown it or I've missed it, it's interesting that when you're just vulnerable like that and you just go and say, hey, messed up, raising my hand here, not blaming anybody else, not making excuses, that it opens up the door for you to receive you, the leader, to receive a lot of grace back. And I have found that, even if somebody was mad about it or upset, because by nature, I'm a D personality, I'm that alpha male, and I want to dominate and control. So it has been a work in my life over 20 years. And I've made some big mistakes, but I have found that, like when you said, when you go and just be honest, own it, confess it, that it just opens up the door for a lot of grace. And it's amazing how it just begins to turn around really, pretty quickly as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I really like that. Anything else? I know, like, going to that, but have you seen anything else that, if someone's out there right now watching this as a young leader, says, okay, I'm going to go and then I start having some one-on-ones with my employees. Do you have another tip that they could build on top of that maybe they could implement right away as well?
Yeah, I'll tell you the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things for me too, also, is invest back in your business. So, don't overload one person too much to the point to where they just felt overloaded.
Yeah.
Once you need that second person, don't be afraid to spend that money and do that. And, because when you hire the right employee, you may pay them 30 or 40,000 a year, whatever that number may be, but all of a sudden that person, may turn into $100,000 worth of revenue to you because of if you hire the right person, your revenue goes up, period. And if you bring the right person up on your team. And and one other thing too, I'll point out too, is, we've all heard talked about being on the right seat on the bus. Okay. And that's so important. And when I first heard that, it took me a second to really comprehend what they were saying, but all of a sudden it hit me. I understand what they're saying now. And so we have employees that we started out in one position, they did not excel. And I'll use an example. We've got a lady right now, her name is Leslie. She started out as my life assistant. She was an assistant for life insurance, and just didn't excel. Now we've moved her into the Medicare customer service role, and she is an absolute rock star. And so we got her on a different seat on the bus. So it's just, it was great to see, because she's a tremendous person, and a person that we wanted to be a part of our culture, part of our team. We just had to find the right seat on the bus. So we had to make a change, and we did. And we've done the same thing with another lady by the name of Lindy. Lindy was in a different role, and now she's in a role to where she does multiple things, an absolute rock star. And I could go on and on with several people, and I hope, I hate for them to listen to this, and I didn't mention one of them, but it's tremendous that just to see them in one role and us trying a different role, and all of a sudden it's like the lights went on. It's like, oh my gosh. And to see that is tremendous. And the same way with like new agents, like I travel a lot to go and help new agents conduct Medicare seminars. I went to Iowa last week. I've got an email from new team members of ours that are doing their first seminars in Kansas City. next in September. And so did some down in Dallas last week or 2 weeks ago, a couple weeks ago. And so just basically just traveling around, doing a lot of helping new agents start seminars. That's just tremendously, that's what I love, is helping the agents succeed. And so, but
no, and that's a great point, because I'm a big advocate in repurposing people as well. Like if that's not their 10 is the terminology I use, I want to find their 10. Like even myself, this is my 10. I love talking with leaders. I love motivating and encouraging people. I love being positive and inspiring people. I'm really not the best salesman in the world. I've been telling this at our Behind the Agency, which we're currently hosting. But the one thing that I do really well is I am a big advocate in the transference of energy, passionate about life, believe that I was made on purpose for a purpose. And I see when you're talking about supporting agents and culture, that even on your face and just the energy that you're projecting through this meeting, you could tell it's there. And so I think it takes a lot of maturing to get there, not only for yourself, but also to lead people, because I see it all the time where people try to shove people into an area that's really not their 10. And within 90 days, they're frustrated, burned out, and they quit, or they want to quit. Right. And so I think that's a great little nugget there that you shared with everyone. So let me ask you this. How did you get to that point? Like, how did you get to the point to where you recognize that? I mean, is that something that you were intentional about cultivating in your own life? Did you have mentors? Was that something from your family that you learned?
As far as culture you're referring to?
Yes. Yeah. How did you get to the point to where you really learned that was a very vital piece?
Well, when I first became a general manager at Mutual, I tried to do it all. I mean, just I wanted my hand in every pot, and I wanted, and like you mentioned earlier, no one could do it better than I could, and et cetera.
Yep.
And so I thought that I wanted, I can do it all. Well, I quickly realized that was not the case. And if I was ever going to grow, and when I started Mutual, and I'll tell you this, and again, not in any braggadocious way whatsoever, I'm just telling you the impact that the culture have. That's the only purpose of telling this part of the story, is when I started with Mutual, the agency I took over was ranked number 47 in the company. And that was in August of 2000.
Right.
And December of 2010, we were the number one agency in the entire company.
Wow.
And so and this is a corporate 500 company. And the reason we were able to do that is strictly because of culture. I finally turned over the reins from some things. I started hiring individuals that were, as good, if not, some of them better than me, know. And so I hired an individual by the name of Sean Powell. And Sean was an individual that he was an agent with me, and I saw his leadership skills, and I made him a district sales manager. And then when our agency got large enough for an assistant general manager, I immediately made him the assistant general manager. And he was my right hand, my left hand, everything else. He was just tremendous. And so he helped me grow. And then all of a sudden we started hiring district sales managers. In my territory covered all or parts of 7 states. And so I started hiring district sales managers, leaders in all these areas. And we made sure we had all the resources to help them succeed. We made sure they had all the tools to help them succeed. Sure. And we gave them ownership, and we built great relationships with them. And that's where, like we had, Andy Allen down in Jackson, Mississippi, and Chase Hall in Memphis, Tennessee. And, I go on. And, Jason Green in Little Rock, Arkansas. And we had, just all over the map. We had just great district sales managers. And these individuals were individuals that just help our agency get to that number one. And I think the biggest thing too is, and this was at Mutual days, recognizing people. So like, for example, when I was at Mutual, we took, every year I took over 100 people to Mexico or to somewhere, and no one was doing that back then. And it was my own monies, it was spending, we had an allotment of money to spend, but we spent that just on leads and some other stuff. So this came out of my pocket basically. And, but just to thank them, recognize them, and every year we did that, our production would double the next year. And just from that, showing that appreciation. So I think it's just basically a standpoint of getting the right, if you get the right people on your team, there's nobody that can stop you.
Yeah.
If you have the right people in your team and those team members are behind your vision, and you allow them to be a part of that also, and they're excited about their piece of that that vision, and they know that how critical and vital and important that they are to that vision, then all of a sudden, the sky's the limit. So.
Yeah. And I think the greatest leaders are those that are others focused and not self-focused. And one of the reasons that I encourage people to work on themselves is because you ultimately attract who you are, right? And if you want the right people on your team, it's got to start working on you and you getting better and you learning that, hey, it's not about the kingdom of Rob here, right? I want to build something for everyone. And so, man, that is so good. Two more things real quickly, because I know time has went by so fascinating about culture. And I definitely want to have you on because there's like more things because there's more things I want to talk about. But let me ask you this. How does Brian Askins define success? I know that's a subjective and relative term, but what does success mean to you?
The more important than success to me is family over business. And it's not even close. And so whenever, I pass away, and I'm leaving a legacy right now, and that's my goal, to leave a legacy. To my children, because I've got, Cody obviously is in the business. I've got two son-in-laws in the business, and my daughter-in-law works with us also, and then Cody's wife works with him. So we've got a family business. So on my tombstone, I don't want, that he built an unbelievable successful business, and that is my goal, to do that. But on that tombstone or whatever it may be, I just want to where he was a great father. He was a great husband. He was a great grandfather.
Good.
And so that's what matters to me more than anything in the world is family. That's the most important thing in the world. And my wife and I, we've been married. It'll be 32 years come September 1st. Wow. And we have four children. And one fun fact is we had 4 teenagers at one time. Wow. Because when Cody was 19, our youngest was 13. Her name is Casey. Wow. And then we had 2 in the middle there. So we had 4 teenagers at one time. People said, "And you did that sober?" And we did. So
no, I couldn't imagine that. And I think it kind of goes back again to the culture thing, in that so many people, just because you're successful doesn't mean you're winning at home. I know I've been guilty of that at seasons in my life. And I love what you're saying, but if you win at home, you will be successful.
It makes it so much easier to be successful at work if you're winning at home. Yeah. And because so many times, if you're fighting with your wife every day and you're fighting with your children every day, and it's a chaotic at home, it's hard not to bring some of that to the workplace. And my dad passed away when I was 5 years of age. And when I was very young, my mom, she, when I was 5, I saw her go, and she had 3 jobs, and she had 3 jobs throughout most of my childhood. And I got my work ethic from her. And to, and my goal is to never, ever let anyone outwork me. I'm always the first one in the office, and typically always the last one here, because it's all about work ethic, because I'm not the most talented person, but no one's going to try any harder than I try. Giving you more effort than I give. But I do that same thing with my family. Every year we take a family vacation, and it's so important to me, and I pay for the majority of the vacation, and that's so important to my wife and I, just from a standpoint of keeping that tremendous relationship with our children, our grandchildren, and it's the biggest blessing of my life is the relationships I have with my family, and they're all a part of our business. Them or their spouses are part of our business, and the great thing is that you bring that over to the business, and you're still able to coexist, and it's all based on the culture that you built. And so again, it all goes back to the culture part.
Yeah, no, that's some great things. Two more things real quickly. I ask this to everyone that comes on the podcast here. If there was one word that you would use to describe yourself, what would that one word be?
It'd be culture or be work ethic, one of the two.
Okay.
And I know work ethic can be, it'd be one of the two. But I love, I know we've talked a lot about culture here, but kind of going back to culture, I love seeing people succeed. And that makes me thrive. When an employee or an agent succeeds, that just makes me thrive beyond belief. Like yesterday, we were able to, I called several of our agents and helped them with some marketing for AEP, which was tremendous. I love doing that. But I started the first 5 minutes of conversation just thanking them for their partnership, thanking them for their friendship, thanking them for all the things that they do for us, and how they've helped us get from to where, we were brand new, just a not even a dot on the map, to where now, we've grown quite a bit, and they've been a big part of that. So I love seeing people grow. I love seeing that part. But I guess the one word would be, I guess you go back to culture or work ethic, because that's the two things, the two things that I think we can control. So.
No, and I love that, because obviously that culture that you have focused on and emphasized so much. I did a little video the other day for my TikTok, because I'm learning how to do TikTok better. And the title of the video was "The Soul of Your Heart Will Ultimately Manifest in the Culture of Your Business." So it really starts with you, the leader. It really starts with you cultivating that right soil and getting around those right people like you and others who seem to really do really well in that area, that you're valuing relationship over riches, when it seems this culture teaches the other that we live in, teaches it to be the opposite. And so that's so good. Listen, want to have you back on, because there's just so much more, and time gets away from us. But what if someone's out there right now watching this, what is, and whether it's in our industry, or let's just say they want to be an entrepreneur, but they're scared, or maybe they're apprehensive, or maybe they just don't know, really how to get started in whatever industry it is in. Do you have any just final words of wisdom that you would give someone out there who's willing to take that next step in their life?
Yeah, I always tell people this, and I've done, a couple of speeches on this, is I just think that people are so talented, but one thing that they fail to do, they fail to bet on themselves. And if you're going to bet on anybody, bet on yourself.
Yeah.
And if you bet on yourself, you'll be surprised at the outcome that'll happen. You'll be surprised at the results that will occur. And if you bet on yourself, and you get, and we all need those mentors in our life, the people that helps, that we can go to and ask questions to, and, the mentors, and, seek out some mentors, seek out some advice. But at the end of the day, whatever it is that you want to do, I don't care what it is, whatever it is that you want to do, take the chance. We live this life one time. We get one time to live this life. And there's so many people that I believe that let opportunities pass by, that were so immensely talented, so immensely, great, could have been great, but they never took that chance. They never bet on themselves. And one thing that I always tell people is, and one thing that I pray I never have to say is, when my days are done, I don't want to look back and say, I wish I'd have done this or that.
Oh, that's good.
And just truly, if there's something you want to do, take that chance, take that leap of faith, bet on yourself, because people say, well, what if I fail? And I say, well, what if you succeed?
Right.
And people say, well, what if it doesn't work out? And I'll say, what if it does?
Yeah.
Risk versus reward. I'll take that every day of the week. If I get a chance to bet on myself, I get a chance to surround myself with the people that I choose to surround myself with, I'm going to come out on top every time if I get a chance to surround myself with the right people.
Wow. Well,
it's all about who I surround myself with.
Yeah.
And if you bet on yourself, bring team members on that you can, that you can go to battle with, and there's not a chance that you fail if you bet on yourself and you have that true passion, that true drive, that true desire to do something. So I would beg anybody, bet on yourself, because it is so, just take that chance. If it doesn't work, you try something, but I really believe it's going to work. I really do. And if not, you're going to learn lessons that allows you to be more successful the next time.
Yeah. Well, wow, that's spitting some serious fire lightning around there. I mean, we just went to Brian Askins' church here. If there was an offering plate to pass around, I'd probably put a little bit of money in the offering plate. So thank you, Mr. Brian, today for being so generous with your time. And I think this is a wake-up call for many of you watching us, leaders that don't sleep on the culture thing. Quit putting it off. Quit focusing on other things that may be making you immediate income right now, why the culture is deteriorating. But shift that focus, get that soil healthy, get that soil right. Maybe we need to repurpose some people today in our agency or in our companies, right? Maybe they're not the right fit and we need to put them somewhere else. But really, we just need to take a sober, honest, objective look at us and see a leader. Where are we missing it? Where can we grow? Where do we find people like Brian Askins here? Maybe we need to call him up and say, hey, can you coach me? Can you be my consultant and teach me some things? Maybe be my Mr. Miyagi, if you will, in the culture area. As we close today, where can people find you? I mean, Facebook, are you on other social media platforms, a website?
Yeah, so my website is just secureinsurancegroup.com. And I do have Facebook, and then my wife and I have a Facebook together also.
Okay.
But the name of the company is Secure Insurance Group. And if anybody ever has any questions, I'd love the opportunity. I love helping people, and with absolutely zero strings attached. And my email is just Brian, BRIAN .Askins, ASKINS at secureig.com. And IG is just short for insurance group. And again, if I can ever help anybody, that I love, and absolutely no strings attached, and be glad to help you in any way I can.
Yeah. So, and I can tell you, Brian, the short time that I've known you, and you struck a chord with me at 8%. I saw you at the virtual 8%, and saw you talk on this subject. You have been a great help to me. I pray that God will continue to let us have a good friendship going forward. Listen, you need a Brian Askins in your life. I'm just telling you right now, this guy is the real deal. And so thankful for your time today and everything that you shared. As we close today, I just want to remind all of you to please like, comment, subscribe. I think this one needs to be shared 1 billion times, because there's more people that need to understand the impact and importance of culture. And when we have you on again, I definitely want to get on the family thing, but because of time's sake today, but we'll definitely have you back on for that. But like, subscribe, comment, share with someone who you think needs to hear this as well. And we want you to be notified every time we drop fresh content like this, whether it be our Monday motivations or our Spitting Fire Leadership podcast interview. So make sure to click that little bell down there, so that way you're notified every time we drop content like this. Listen, I believe, once again, all of you guys deserve to win. Bet on yourself. Don't quit. Go one more day. You never know. It's that breakthrough. You're maybe this close to that breakthrough. But God bless you guys. Have an awesome day, and we will talk to you soon.